He has left his home, his family, and his country to walk 500 miles across desert, scrub, and marsh.
Well, here we've got a group of new recruits, absolutely strange to the mining industry. They come from many different nations. They have never worn a pair of boots, and they are absolutely illiterate.
This is the hell of South Africa, and this is the temple.
Watch the striking Thursday night color documentary, The Gold Run, November 20th, on CBC television.
Number 12 soon will be hung up for good. Very few really understand it, and most people in football in Canada aren't ready yet to believe it. Russell Stanley Jackson is at the peak of his powers, in the full, mature bloom of his muscular flowers. He is healthy, sound, and experienced, and still in the velvet as quarterbacks go at only 33 years of age. There are many who contend that Russ Jackson is the finest all-round football player ever to perform in this country. And now, having scaled the most towering peaks in Canadian sports, he is on the threshold of retirement, a retirement considered by many to be premature. So the question which occurs to Canadian fans and to other players and to coaches and general managers and every hour on the hour to Frank Clare is why? Well, it's all part of a very simple plan. It's all part of a perfectly planned man. There has been conjecture that since he is enjoying his finest season this year, and since he is at the top, that he might reconsider and stay around a bit longer to enjoy the view. After all, he is throwing the ball better than ever. He seems to be running faster than ever. He stands under his center and looks over defenses and picks them apart with the skill of a surgeon.
97.
But Jackson is a person of firm resolution, and the fact that he is enjoying a good season just adds strength to his resolve. On a very few occasions, incidents have intruded which might have altered his life plan, might have, but didn't. When he was in school at McMaster, he played varsity football, basketball, and played senior baseball in Hamilton. He was also taking a difficult honors math, and so he had to have a program, a schedule. Because besides starring in all sports, he won the Governor General's Medal for General Excellence in his third year, and in his final year, he was asked by the university to consider nomination for that pearl of the academic world, a Rhodes Scholarship. He declined, because even that glittering bauble didn't fit his plan. He wanted to teach school, to be an educator, and to play pro football. Since his Sandlot days as a little gaffer in the harsh Depression days in Hamilton, he wanted to be a professional athlete. As a Canadian from a relatively small school, he didn't expect to cut a spectacular swath as a quarterback. But in 1959, he got the idea that maybe he could do it, and that thought did fit his plan. He won the award as the Outstanding Canadian Player, and he won it because he was able to engineer some victories when import quarterbacks had failed. They had beaten off the challenges of name import quarterbacks, and then came, full of hope and ambition, to a lasting duel with Ron Lancaster. Between the two of them, they engineered Ottawa's Grey Cup victory in 1960. Then he knew, with a certainty, that he could do it, and that he wanted it, and the Lancaster-Jackson feud grew.
We were both young and starting our careers as quarterbacks, and we both wanted to play, and this was, I think, the difficulty that we faced. And certainly when things didn't go too well in the 2 years of 61 and 62 following the Grey Cup win, the team did divide a bit. I think certain players were hoping that I would start, and certain players were hoping that Ronnie would start, and certainly the fans were divided this way. And we certainly now feel that the best thing for both of us was that one of us was traded.
Some of the fans in Ottawa have never forgiven Frank Clare for selling Lancaster to Saskatchewan, and so Jackson has sometimes been booed in the Ottawa part. Lancaster went to Saskatchewan in 1963, and Jackson responded by winning 2 national awards, Outstanding Player in the Country and Outstanding Canadian. His personal schedule then took on a form, a definite 3-year cycle, but it was almost interrupted. In 1965, in the final series in Hamilton, Jackson took a severe mauling. His nose was broken, his mouth split, his kidneys damaged. He went into hospital secretly to have the kidney trouble attended to, and he considered then, for the first time, retiring. But when the snow melted that spring and he was healthy and full of fire, he wanted to go again. He couldn't accept a beating and then quit. That wasn't the note he wanted. In 1966, for the second time, he won a double in the National Awards Contest. That was the year Bill Smith died, and the Ottawa Rough Riders were on an emotional tidal wave which swept them through the East, but subsided and petered out in Vancouver in the Grey Cup, losing to Saskatchewan. And Jackson's old buddy, Lancaster, had things all his way that day. There was some disenchantment then among the directors and some fans with Coach Frank Clare, and Russ has never played for another head coach. He made it plain then that if Frank Clare didn't stay, he wouldn't either. But this is 1969, another three-year cycle, and again Jackson is at least in line for another double award. Statistics will show that he is the most successful quarterback of all time in Canadian football based on overall performance. Regardless of what happens from here in, this has been Jackson's greatest year and his last year. His basic contract calls for $37,000 a season. He knows it will be different and tough, but he wants some privacy now. He wants to go out with friends and just be Russ Jackson, private citizen. He has a growing family. He feels he's been away too long. He is vice principal of Sir John A. Macdonald High School, and this summer he'll complete his course to qualify as a principal. He has loved football. He had to have it, and very likely he'll remain associated with it in some capacity. But he won't ever coach. He's definite about that. And he won't play after this year. He's definite about that. A strong decision, one of the many he's made in a strong and aggressive life. But it's part of the plan. Score here is Ottawa 11 and Toronto 9, and we'll continue with our halftime show after this message.
A trip to the moon and back. Except in the mind of man, this is only the second time in history for a walk on the lunar surface. The second time that man actually visits another body in our solar system. The second giant leap for mankind. In July, Armstrong, Aldrin, and Collins saw the Earth rise and walked on the moon, collecting samples of rock and dust. Evidence of man's great achievement in conquering space. Now we watch phase 2 of the moon exploration, as Earthbound scientists wait anxiously for the return of Apollo 12 and the return of whatever they may bring.
Tonight, watch CBC Weekend for an up-to-the-minute report on the flight of Apollo 12. Canadian professional football. This portion brought to you by the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation for the best in television sports coverage across Canada every season. This is the CBC Television Network. Canadian professional football. This portion brought to you by
Canadian Pacific. Serving you in so many ways.
It looked for a while like the Ottawa Rough Riders were going to walk away with this ball game, and the figures here represent that same thinking, except Toronto was late getting started, finally did start to roll in the second quarter. But still, at this point, as far as first downs are concerned, Ottawa has doubled the score over Toronto. Giardino playing a whale of a ball game, 11 carries for 56, but a surprising statistic for Toronto as far as passing is concerned. They've completed only 4 of 9, and Taylor has taken all of those for a total yardage of 72, and of course the penalties there speak for themselves. Both teams want to win this game desperately. The score, Ottawa 11 and Toronto 9. And we'll continue with our halftime show after this message.
If you've ever met a CP Rail freight traffic representative, you might have the idea that he's a little on his own. Nothing could be further from the truth. He's got the help of our computer experts, industrial site specialists, train crews, economists, statisticians, lawyers, designers, engineers, accountants, great people, and anybody else he needs. So next time you're talking to a CP Rail freight traffic rep, think of all the support he can offer you. CP Rail, another way Canadian Pacific serves you.
Tom McKee with Bernie Filoni back at the C&E Stadium for this playoff football game between Ottawa and the Toronto Argonauts. And Bernie, first of all, one guy who's really surprised me is Wayne Giardino for the Ottawa Rough Riders, having quite a day.
He is having quite a day, and here behind blocking is Jerry Sellinger and Fredericks, 42 and 51 respectively. He shows why he is a great football player. He's playing defensive out there also. The Rough Riders have had a good first half. They've been really controlling the ball game, and Russ Jackson again has to start off everything in a big way. And Giardino, you see 21, he's throwing the key block to allow Jackson to get in the end zone for a touchdown. We go to Giardino again coming up on a play which he runs very hard, and it's on an end sweep type of thing, and you'll see him run into Thornton and be hit very hard and tumble, and you'll see the ball come loose on a fumble. It's a very controversial play, Tom, that Martin, number 77, finally picks up, and had he been allowed to recover that football and run with it, it could have been a touchdown, but the Rough Riders,
the ball right there.
The Rough Riders were allowed to keep the ball at this time.
Of course, it's the old story, no, they don't have the slow motion down there to look at.
A game of close calls and a game of chance on an attempted field goal by Don Sutherland. Danny Deaver, number 30, really runs down in there, even fumbles the ball in the end zone, and it looks like Deaver recovered the ball, but even did hold on to it. Well, look at that.
I wouldn't be surprised if he pushed that ball right back, too.
It was very close. This is a very smart play coming up by Jackson, and a safety type of a play. He's down in close, wind's against him. He's back into the end zone. He can't find a receiver. So he holds the ball, he's tackled behind for a safety, 2 points, and it's number 69, Mechtel, who finally gets him in there first. Ball bouncing back and forth. Tom, there's Jackson, a lot of time to throw. He throws on a break-in pattern to one of his favorite receivers, Whit Tucker, in full form, and he's going right in the end zone, so he thinks, and then Jimmy Dye comes up, hits him on the arm, the ball drops out, bouncing around. Lester picks it up and starts back with it, and this gave the Argonauts the big break that they needed to move that ball down the field. Eventually ended up in this play, Bobby Taylor taking a reception from number 19, Wilkinson, after getting away from a big rush.
And right after he got nailed pretty hard just 2 plays before.
That's right. That's coming back as a great football player, and he's all alone. Look at that.
And you don't think he's happy? No. And those are the highlights that have resulted in the score being Ottawa 11 and Toronto 9. We'll return with the second half kickoff in just a moment.
Today, the sky above your head is the busiest highway in the world. That's right, because today businesses need telecommunications messages to get things done fast. They may use telex or teletype, the simplest system, or broadband, the best way to move data between computers. Either way, we send hundreds of business messages at once. But we also bring you things to relax with, maybe even the program you're watching now. It's a complex job, but we'll control it with our own computer. And tomorrow, we may use satellite or laser beam to make telecommunications even better. CP Telecommunications, another way Canadian Pacific serves you.
Ron Chevrier with Bernie Filoni, Tom McKee, spotter Art Darch, and Ron Andrews, our statistician, C&E Stadium in Toronto. The second half of this game and the second quarter of the two-game total point series. And on the board, the Rough Riders have 11 points, and the Argonauts have 9. But the big factor in the first half, the penalties. While we really don't have access to long-haul records of this nature, it'll have to be awfully close to a record when two teams combine for a total of 165 yards in penalties, as these teams did in the first half. Many were rough play calls. Ottawa winding up with 107 yards in infractions, and the Argonauts
58 yards. Game 2 next Saturday at Lansdowne Park in Ottawa. 11-9, the Rough Riders, as you recall, in the first half, threatened to make a runaway of the game. In fact, the Argonauts had a good portion into the second quarter, had only a yard in total offense, a net yard, and the Riders were racking up first downs and long yardage and points left and right. And then that one sustained drive, aided by roughing calls and the interference call in the end zone against Ardern, got the Argonauts into scoring position, and from that point on, they were a new football team. It gave them the lift they needed, but they looked equally lethargic as last week in the semifinal win over Hamilton for much of that first half until the one play got them going, the interference call, and got their ignition moving once again. So from the 45-yard line, as was the case at the outset of the game, the Rough Riders with the wind on Southern will be kicking off to the Argonauts' deep receiver stationed back at the goal line. They are Jim Tomlin and Bill Simon.
This, of course, Don, means that the Argonauts will have the win for the last quarter of this ball game.
While the sun has dipped behind the clouds momentarily, that wind certainly is still very much with us. Simon. He was filled by Jerry Campbell on first contact inside the 25-yard line. They spot the ball to the 24, and the Argonauts will go from there, first down. Bobby Taylor, with the wind knocked out of his sails in the second quarter, snapped back in 2 plays later for the touchdown, and he's in there now. Simon's return was 16 yards on the kickoff return. Wilkinson, 19, still the starting quarterback. He's gone all the way. Simon. He has 8 yards at the 32, bouncing off the first man to meet him. Marshall Shurkin and Gene Gaines followed up downfield with the tackle. So it'll be 2nd and 2 from the 32. Number 30 in the huddle is Dickie Moore. He was arrested last week, and Dick Thornton played halfback in the Hamilton game. Simon, for what appears to be a first down near the 35-yard line. They're just starting the third quarter, 11-9 for the Rough Riders. And the Riders have requested a measurement. That confirms the Toronto first down.
It's real tough in that line out there, and everybody's pushing and grabbing and everything else. It gets kind of rough. You can see 3-on-1. Campbell doesn't know where to go. Turks in there.
That was Paul Marco back to the live action with the catch at the 42-yard line. And Lehman made the tackle there again 2 yards away from the first down on the gain of 8. Prophet and Marco play the ends for Toronto. Offside against Church. 45-yard line. Dickie Moore has what appears to be a first down. So the Argonauts accept the penalty, which was 2 yards longer than the game. And the ball is at the 47-yard line, where it's now first down. Kenny Nicolette, number 60, the veteran tackle on the right side for the Argonauts. Bob Hudspeth, the rookie, number 66, on the left side. Bill Simon for the gain of 5 to 6 yards. Bernie, they were not able to run at all in the first quarter and into the second quarter, but they've done something in there to swing these backs loose.
Well, the biggest thing was Bill Simon's making some yards on his own in that first play, and the line is getting off the mark a little quicker, a little better now.
Wayne Giardino going two ways. Stops Wilkinson for a loss. Back at the 46-yard line. That will break up the Argonauts' series of downs. They'll have to kick now with man coming in. About 3 minutes gone in this third quarter. Ardern and Cooper go back near the 25 for man's punch into the wind. He gets it down. Ardern at the 36-yard line, tackled by Roger Scales, number 51. Next traveling 30, Tom.
Next game on CBC Network. Coming up Wednesday, Saskatchewan playing at Calgary in that Western Conference final. And then on Friday night, the Canadian College Bowl from Varsity Stadium in Toronto.
First down, Riders, 36. Wayne Giardino for 5 yards, tackled by Dave Nechtel, number 69. And it appears as though Frank Clare made a wise decision in going with his corner linebacker Wayne Giardino as a running back. Dean Thomas, the newcomer, not quite ready to play full-time, is the 14th import. Now Giardino gets a rest while Billy Cooper, number 23, comes into the backfield. 26 is Tucker, wide right. Jim Mankin fighting for yardage, gets within 1 of the first down, but he will be short. Walt Balasuk, number 64, contained him. Mankin's a real game football player, struggling for every inch he can get. So the Riders are 3rd and 1 from their 45 and have to punt. Argonauts sending back number 32, Even, and number 34, Jerry Sternberg on the punt return team. And it was Sternberg who made that remarkable attempt to break loose on a punt return a while ago. And Berkeley loses the ball. And he gets it away. Even as it sailed out of bounds, we'll get a better marking farther upfield. But it was all Van Berkeley could do, and quite alert on his part, to get it off. The timeout on the field, 10:38 to play in the third quarter. The score is Ottawa 11 and Toronto 9.
When you were 10, one of the things you wanted to be when you grew up was a truck driver. Well, we wonder if you could handle the job now. Smith Transport. They handle goods between the prairies and the Atlantic and even to the U.S. It's one of the most advanced trucking operations in the world. CP Transport is our workhorse, operating from as far south as you can get to as far north as you can drive. This means wheeling mercury and steel flasks from northern D.C. Destination, New Jersey, USA. Now, how about this for a change? A radio-controlled dispatch system, electronic motor repair centers, computers, and this CP Express automated terminal in Toronto, one of a number we have to give us the most modern express terminals on the continent. Trucking has changed a lot since you were a kid, and so have we. Smith Transport, CP Express, CP Transport, trucking. Another way Canadian Pacific serves you.
Well, the Argonauts all huddled up there at the bench. Those are not on the field, but the bench and the team has come to life. So the long-starved Toronto fans after a very tough start today for Toronto. The ball at the 45-yard line, first down. Mel Prophet. The lateral to Taylor at the 45-yard line to get an extra 4 or 5 yards. That's a 20-yard gain. Mel Prophet, number 75. Taylor wide left, fourth right. And it is Bill Simon. And there's another example of tremendous effort on the part of number 33, Simon, last year's outstanding CFL player.
Duran there with a chance, but he just drags him. Now two more players come in there to try to get a chance, and Simon was just too strong. First down, Dickie Moore. He's down to about the 2.5-yard line as he came back in from the original hole he intended to hit and ad-libbed his way for a couple. That ball is near the 2-yard line, so they go from there, second and goal. 8:35 to play in the third quarter. The atmosphere electric now as this partisan crowd of 33,000 plus urges the Argonauts to a scoring play. And there it is. Bobby Taylor with his second touchdown of the afternoon. And for the first time in the series journey, the Argonauts lead.
On a short, bend-out pattern to Bobby Taylor in the end zone, right inside the goal line area there. Bobby Taylor on his second touchdown. After a brilliant run by Bill Simons taking it into that scoring area.
Johansson's convert has been blocked by Gene Gaines, Duran coming through there. Poirier was there, and the Argonauts do not get the extra point, and of course, in a total point series, every point is valuable. They now lead by 4, 15-11, 8:03 is the time remaining in the third quarter. After a very slow start, it's developed into the kind of game, and no doubt will prove to be the kind of series that all CFL fans thought this matchup between the Rough Riders and the Argonauts would be.
And, of course, it's all heading for 2 weeks from today and the Grey Cup game. Broadcast time on the CBC stations will be 12:30 noon. That's Eastern Standard Time out of the Autostad Montreal Grey Cup preview at 11:30.
Jim Mankin. Across the 40-yard line, Johansson's kickoff short into the strong wind. 40 yards was the kickoff. The return by Mankins was 17. And the Riders have the ball between the 41 and the 42, their own first down. Trailing now for the first time today, 15-11, midway through quarter 3. Tucker sets right. Adkins wide left. Guy defending on Giardino. The ball squirted loose, and Tomlin made a vain attempt at the interception. So it is second down and 10. Pete Martin came out on the last play defensively, and Alan Ray Aldridge, number 44, you see him on the Argonaut defensive huddle, came in to play the corner spot. Now they moved Luster outside and Aldridge in the middle where Marvin Luster has been most of the day. They'll flip-flop that pair on almost every play. Russ Jackson under a wave of bodies, got some yardage, but not enough for the first down as the Argonauts made better recovery against that bolt out of the backfield by Jackson than they have in all games against the Rough Riders this year. The linebackers weren't so far committed downfield that they couldn't recover and make the tackle. So on 3rd and 3, Van Berkeley goes into punt. A dandy with that wind. Mike Eben at the 19-yard line.
Bernie, are you all set? Are you ready for Montreal in that Grey Cup game? We have Ernie Afghani's going to be there, Frank Ridley, Don Whitman, Don Chevrier, yourself, and me. You could be quarterback, you know. We could have our own 6-man double touch game down there.
And Berkeley's punt was 50 yards. A return of 5 takes it to the 19. Argonauts first down. Bill Simon. He sent that one airmail to the 25-yard line. Gain of 5. There's no doubt the Argonauts have more spark and momentum now than they probably have in their last 3 or 4 games. And it all seemed to come at the turnaround point in the second quarter. Well, Bobby Taylor underthrown. Taylor had fallen downfield at the 50-yard line. Barry Arduran was covering Taylor. So it is 3rd down and about 5 from the 24-yard line. Billy Cooper fields the punt for Mann. And that's all for number 23. The ball came loose. You saw Hudspeth trying to go for it, but the whistle had gone. And Cooper won it back. Ernie, you're back in business now. I think your microphone just might work for you.
Well, we'll give it a try, Don. Dave Mann is kicking that ball deliberately low and away from the receivers down there, and he's had success the last 2 times that he has kicked the ball that way.
For Whittaker, double coverage from 15 Learn and 23 Tomlin. Now we have the lights on at C&E Stadium. Although with the unusual amount of sunshine this afternoon, it's been a very pleasant day. Right along about this time, it tends to get a little bit dark. So the lights are on. You see the view of Lake Ontario in behind the south stands here at the C&E. Those waters don't look too warm, that's for sure. Second down and 10. Rough Riders from the Argonaut 54. Jim Tomlin. He outran Margene Atkins and was taken down at the 49-yard line. A 31-yard return.
If there's any doubt that people don't think that Jim Tomlin has some speed, just look at it here when he outruns Margene Atkins down that sideline. And we all know how fast Margene Atkins is. And Tomlin is actually pulling away from him before he's knocked out of bounds there.
Would you believe that unless you'd seen it, that he'd pull away from Atkins?
That was Sutherland going over the top there to try to make sure Simons was stopped. He was contained by gains at the 45-yard line. Jerry Campbell there as well. The gain is 4.
Trying to massage the back of the neck there a little, I think.
Second down and 6. Bobby Taylor breaks to the left. Jim Thorpe to the right. Simons, as the ball arrived unexpectedly from the blind side, Giardino was charging Wilkinson and forced the premature release of the ball. So it is now 3rd and 6 from the 45. Toronto has done in the main what the Rough Riders did in the second quarter, and that is they have kept the team with the wind from having possession of the ball a good deal of the time. Arduran and Cooper, the punt return team, man to kick. Cooper was clubbed down by 75 Mel Prophet. The ball is at the 16. The Rough Riders will start from there with 3:43 to play in the third quarter, and Toronto leading Ottawa 15-11.
Don, I don't know whether you've noticed or not, but it was a pretty rough first half. We've only had one offside penalty in this second half so far.
Coaches must have cautioned both teams about it. It got pretty expensive in yardage. Jim Tomlin with a tackle on Wayne Giardino. Good call by Jackson, the draw. And the gain is 6 yards at the 27. Just over 3 minutes remain now in the third quarter. 15-11 Toronto. 2nd and 4. For Atkins, who's down, now Learn has room to go. A flag has been thrown at the 50-yard line. Maybe a clipping call against Toronto.
A little surprised at Jackson. He's been going for the long bomb quite often as of the last 2 series, and he overthrows on this one, and Ed Learn picks it up and gets away from Margin Atkins, and watch the blocking as Learn returns this down the field.
There's a timeout on the field, Bernie. 2:29 to play in the 3rd quarter. It's Toronto 11 and 15 and Ottawa 11.
These bring back memories. But you know, I never did see a bullfight. You wouldn't go. You know, Mexico will always be that midnight swim at Puerto Vallarta.
Oh, yeah.
Now, we didn't see one pair of wooden shoes in Amsterdam. But that trip down the Rhine made up for it. Australia. Now, that was a great trip. You kept trying to ride that surfboard, remember? On a stopover in Hawaii. I missed my bullfight in Spain, too. But remember the flamenco dances? Now, darling, would you like a tea house or an elephant? I called CP Air today. Booked us to Tokyo and Bangkok.
Travel with CP Air is a global affair. CP Air, another way Canadian Pacific serves you.
Clipping call takes the ball to the 54 of Toronto. Their first down from that point. Simon blocked from Hudspeth. And caught a driving tackle by Jerry Campbell, number 54. On that last play, Jackson had a tremendous rush against him. He overthrew Adkins. Learn made the interception. Now, the Argonauts all year only made 1 pass interception against Russ Jackson. They have had 2 in this afternoon's game. At his last 7 attempts to throw, Jackson's been good on only 1 of those 7. Jim Thorpe trying to keep the ball as he went down. Gene Gaines reaching for it, as Southern had made the tackle underneath. So they're well short of the first down. 3rd and 6 to go from the 52-yard line. 1 minute and 25 seconds until 3/4 time. That's man's best kick into the wind. And Ardern eats the ball at the 15-yard line. Lebrock and Scales, the first to meet him downfield. And 14 minutes almost to the 15 in this quarter, with the wind favoring Ottawa, have been taken up. And the Argonauts have the only scoring play of the half to lead 15-11. Ed Harrington meeting Jim Mankins head-on at the 18 after an advance of 3 yards. Clock down to about 35 seconds now and moving.
3rd and 3, 2nd and 7.
With an alternating Cooper and Giardino most of the afternoon. Giardino has played in the main in that backfield. But now it is Cooper, number 23, going left with Margin Atkins, 73. Jackson lost his footing and went down under Ed Harrington, number 54. That's a loss of 9, and the Riders have to punt. Even 32, shielding his eyes from the sun, and Sternberg are the punt return team near center field, and Van Berkeley will kick from the end zone. This should be the final play of the quarter. The ball goes out of bounds at the Ottawa 44. The gun sounds, and that is the end of the third quarter. The score, Toronto 15 and Ottawa 11. We'll have more CFL action after this message.
When you're smiling, say, look, that's blue. The beer that smiles with you. It's the true one, brewed for you one. The lager that's true blue. Next time you order, just call for a blue, 'cause it's the lager with the taste that is true. So when you smile, just say, look, that's blue. The true blue lager beer.
Smile when you say Labatt's Blue. It's Canada's true blue lager with a great taste you can count on anytime, time after time.
Yes, when you're smiling, just say Labatt's Blue. The true blue lager beer. Blue, 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 blue. Labatt's Blue.
Frank Clare at the Rough Rider bench had hoped to come into Toronto and take away a fairly comfortable lead back to Ottawa for the second game of the series next Saturday. Well, now he has to give away the advantage of win to the Argonauts in this fourth quarter, and a deficit of 4 points, 15-11 on the scoreboard. Tom Wilkinson, after checking with Leo Cahill at the bench, comes in to quarterback the Argonauts, who have great field position, the 44-yard line of the Rough Riders, and a first down to begin the fourth quarter of this very exciting Eastern Conference Final. Or Jim Thorpe, almost, but not quite, at the 15-yard line. Van Berkeley and Gaines covering Thorpe. Now, to indicate how the game is turned around with the momentum going for Toronto as opposed to Ottawa in the first half, at three-quarter time now in total offense, it is the Argonauts with the edge in yardage, 200 yards to 196.
Bernie, Wilkinson would have been better to rainbow that ball that time rather than trying to strike, wouldn't you think?
I would think so, Tom. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Second down. Wilkinson made a motion to throw, but that didn't fool the defense. He was a good 5 yards over the line of scrimmage at the time. He got 6 of the 10 he needed, and the Argonauts are 3rd and 4 now, 3.5 from between the 37 and the 38.
I just want to say, Don, on that play before this, when he threw the ball straight on a line, he had Thorpe was very fast. If he threw the ball up and he lofted it a bit, Thorpe may have been able to run under it.
Here's Johansson, number 12. Cosentino holding. Field goal attempt at the 45. It is wide. And Ardern is going to let that go for a single point. The Argos add 1 to their lead. Make it 16-11 now. With a minute and a half gone in the fourth quarter. Timeout on the field, 13:32 to play in the fourth quarter. The score, Toronto 16 and Ottawa 11.
When you're smiling, say Labatt's Blue, the beer that smiles with you. It's the true one, brewed for you one, the lager that's true blue. Next time you order, next time say Labatt's Blue. It's the lager, taste that is true. So when you're smiling, say Labatt's Blue, the true blue lager beer.
True blue friends of this great beer say Labatt's Blue. So do its new friends. And Labatt's Blue is making more and more new friends all across Canada.
So when you're smiling, say Labatt's Blue, the true blue lager beer.
14 minutes and 30 seconds until full time here at the CNE, and wherever you are across the country, we sincerely hope you're enjoying. And this is the first game of the Eastern Final. Argo 16, Ottawa 11. Rough Riders first down from their own 25. Ronnie Stewart has 5, 10, 15, 20 yards at the 45-yard line. He's out on the 47. It's a gain of 22.
Stewart, who is used very little in the regular season as a rusher, has been used quite a bit today running the football, and Ronnie Stewart hasn't lost any of his speed or form, I wouldn't think. And he's able to get in and out like he has in this ball game. He's been receiving the ball well and also running very well and blocking well for the passer.
Runs like a bandit.
That was Ottawa's first down this half. Mencken met by Bloom, then thrown back by Luster. And Aldridge, 44. One-yard gain to the 48-yard line. Adkins, 73 to the left, Tucker wide right. Wayne Giardino, that delay. It was led by Aldridge, 44, who got him at the 51. But we have a flag down back at the line of scrimmage. A penalty against Toronto. Harry Ross indicating offside against the defensive team. So it is now 2nd and 4 for the Rough Riders from the 53, their own. Russ Jackson's uniform showing the effects of the defensive pressure and this muddy field. The pitch to Mencken. Across the 50-yard line. He will have the Rough Rider first down. Gary Sternberg came in on that last play for Jim Dye, and now Dye, number 10, returns, and Sternberg will go out to the bench. Normally when that happens, a rookie defensive back comes in. If the quarterback spots it in time, he often throws against him. Jackson to the 40-yard line. Made a good motion to pitch, kept the ball himself. The gain is 7 yards. Aldridge, 44, the principal tackler on Jackson. Ten minutes and 55 seconds until full time. 16-11. Toronto leads. Mencken. He was held up by his own blocker, Tom Schutte, and then the Argonaut defense closed in. 3rd down and still 2 yards to go. This being a total point series, the Rough Riders 5 points in arrears. 3rd and 2, they're going to gamble. Ronnie Stewart on that sweep has much more than just the first down. Edler, number 15, and Luster defending, putting him into touch. But that's what a good quarterback will do, Bernie. Go back into the memory vault and fill out a play that worked well recently, and we saw that Stewart play downfield about 6 or 7 plays ago.
And too, Don, the defense has a tendency to tighten up in the center, and an outside play is usually a pretty good play at this point of the ball game.
9:45 remaining. First down, Rough Riders. Argonaut 26. Wayne Giardino finds the going pretty rough inside. He collects 3 yards. Jimmy Dyer came up to fill the hole.
Roger Perdrix, number 51, was a trap man on that play, the first man outside the center, and he did get a block on number 64, but didn't quite hold him long enough to allow Wayne Giardino to get through there.
Line of scrimmage is the 22. Here's the 2nd and 7 play. Tucker was short. Adkins was deep. Jackson couldn't get the ball to them. So it's 3rd down and 7 now, and once more we saw a good rush on Russ Jackson just as that ball was released. He's had the minimum amount of time to get his passes on. And this half, Russ is 1 for 8 in pass attempts. The field goal attempt from Southern from near the 30. That is good. And the teams now are just 2 points apart. Argos 16, Rough Riders 14. It was a good belt by Southern because he was kicking into a very stiff wind from a sharp angle left. Eight and a half minutes until full time. Tom, they may play all day here and go back even for that second game.
I just want to say that you certainly, if you want to beat this Ottawa club, you have to go back to their home field with a lot more than 2 points to your advantage.
Microphone. Wilkinson unable to get away from number 63, Ed Joyner.
Wilkinson pulled down by Joyner back at the...
Bobby Taylor, the flanker that was offside, he left early again, and he must be really anxious to get downfield. He sort of tried to stay onside, but he made the motion across the line of scrimmage, and he should be watching that football to stay onside. If I were Wilkinson, I'd be out there and I'd be after him.
They declined the penalty because of Wilkinson being thrown to the sizable loss. They're back at the 23-yard line. 12-yard loss, 2nd and 22 to go now. Bill Simon. Jerry Campbell had to make the tackle from behind on Simons, who got the Argonauts out of a big jam.
There's an unusual call. You have a back like Simons that can run and go all the way. Good blocking behind his guards. And Bill Simons on a 2nd and 22 effort, breaking up and almost breaking this all away. Bobby Taylor down there blocking on Ballard Earn, but he's pulled down behind.
A 31-yard advance for Bill Simons. Toronto is first down at their own 53. 7.5 minutes to play in the game. 16-14, Argonauts lead. Ford turned the wrong way. And Berkeley with the interception. And Berkeley back to the 32 where he stepped out, and that is where the Rough Riders take over. Wilkinson had the ball where he thought Thorpe would be, but wasn't. 7:15 left now. Wayne Giardino, 21, in that offensive backfield. With Mankins and Stewart. Giardino very close to a first down at the 43-yard line. In fact, he should have it. Luster and Martin combining on the tackle.
Blocking and linemen would make plays like this go. Number 51 on a trap on the end, Harrington.
That's 80 yards now and 15 carries for Giardino. Here's Ronnie Short. Tomlin pulled him down at the Rough Rider bench. Now a marker has been thrown. Scuffle deep behind the Rough Rider bench on that track. Now these teams are able to calm their emotions for a while in the third quarter after a rough first half. We now see tempers flaring and penalties coming to the fore again. A rough play call against one team, a rough play call against the other team for that little exchange at the Rough Rider bench.
Only two
had the first down.
Only two penalties in that third quarter, and one was for clipping on the interception, and the other one was for offside.
The ball stays where it is. The one roughing call cancels out the other. From the 53 at their own, the Rough Riders have a first down. The clock moving down to 6 minutes, the time remaining in the football game. Toronto 16, Ottawa 14. A good hit by Bloom on Giardino, who never got the play unraveled at the 53. It will be 2nd and 10 from that point to 53. There's Mechel, the left defensive end. Mike Bloom at the corner. Balasuk 64. Wadsworth 59. That pass might have been intended for Danny Nicolak. He was the closest man to it at the Argonaut bench. I think Whit Tucker downfield was the receiver, but they get mixed up on the pattern. 3rd and 10 now from the 53. 34 is Sternberg and 32 Mike Even. They're back at the 20-yard line. And Berkeley O's punt will be into the wind. Less than 5 minutes remain now. Sternberg at the 25. And he's down at the 28-yard line. 32 yards to punt into the wind.
CBC Color Tailors at the Grey Cup 1969 from Montreal. Special shows Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. Sunday morning with the Grey Cup preview, and of course followed by the Grey Cup game. So arrange your party now.
First down, Argo 28. The pass intended for Jim Thorpe. Gene Gaines covering. Well, the Argonauts have the wind, and Wilkinson seems intent on using the wind behind him for long passing attempts, but they've had little success with it. 4 minutes and 18 seconds left now. The teams 2 points apart, 16-14, Toronto on the top end. They're going to a wide spread formation. Simon set wide right. For Bill Simons, and I believe he will have the first down. He was pushed back, but his forward advance was near the 38-yard line, the 39. They marked the ball, and it should be a first down.
Rough Rider defense is slanting to the wide side of the field, anticipating that Wilkinson would roll that way, which he did, and he was forced by Giardino to go back against the flow. We found Simons over there on the sideline for that first down.
All between the 38 and the 39. 3.5 minutes left. Wilkinson got a late shot from Don Sutherland, but there is no flag. At least he thought it was late. He looked up quite in a startled manner. Gain is about 9. For the scrimmage is the 47.5-yard line. A timeout on the field now with 3 minutes to play in the fourth quarter. The score is Toronto 16 and Ottawa 14.
When you're smiling, say Labatt's blue, the beer that smiles with you. It's the true one, for you, the lager that's true blue. Next time you order, just say Labatt's blue, 'cause it's the lager with the taste that is true. So when you're smiling, say Labatt's blue, the true blue lager beer.
The great taste of Labatt's Blue is winning more and more new friends all across Canada. Make friends with Labatt's Blue yourself. It's a good friend to have, a true blue friend.
So when you're smiling, just say Labatt's Blue, the true blue lager beer. Blue, 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 Labatt's Blue.
Argonaut coaching staff, Leo Cahill in the background, Bob Gibson with a headset. Down to the final 3 minutes of this first game of the Eastern Final. 2nd and a yard to go from the 47.5 for the Argonauts. Dickie Moore across midfield at the 51-yard line of the Rough Riders. Gene Gaines and Joe Poirier with the tacklers. Moore, his best gain of the day, 13 yards. Bill Simons throwing. They rule that he threw to an illegal receiver, Charlie Bray, the guard, number 57. And Bray did a wise thing in putting his hand up to knock that ball away and prevent the interception. Simons threw before he was solidly planted and ready to. There's the signal of the pass to the ineligible receiver. It takes the ball back to the 49-yard line. That's the Toronto 49, a 10-yard penalty. First down repeated. Now 20 to go. Here comes Jim Tomlin, number 23, in for Dickie Moore. You recall, in the third quarter, they sent Tomlin in, and he went deep for a pattern of the end zone, and interference was called against Barry Ardern, and that led to the Argonaut touchdown. This is the second time Tomlin's been used offensively. Throw for Mel Prophet. Gene Gaines came back to cover well on Prophet, who was waiting for the ball a good 3 or 4 seconds before Wilkinson saw him. By the time it took to get to him, the Ottawa defenders had covered up. That makes it 2nd and 20 now from near the 50.
I don't know, a play like that when a quarterback is on full run trying to get away from a guy like Billy Joe Booth and running backwards and sideways at the same time, it's hard for him to throw the ball 40 or 50 yards downfield if he gets turned up. I think he saw the receivers down there, but he just couldn't get the ball away in time.
The play was intended for Tomlin, but the Riders picked it off and double-teamed him. Taylor! to the 11-yard line. Gaines made the tackle.
Bobby Taylor, having an excellent day here, is not the intended receiver to start with, but comes up with the ball just over Sutherland's head. There's a slip there by an Ottawa defender, and almost all the way goes Bobby Taylor, but it's down in close, 57 yards.
He is the top receiver in this game, over 100 yards in reception, 2 touchdowns. Mickey Moore found some kind of opening there after being hit at the 10 and slid near the 8-yard line for about 3. 1:09 on the clock until full time. Collins comes in for Jim Kane defensively for the Rough Riders, who want to hold off his late scoring bid by the Argonauts. The point's very important going back to Ottawa next Saturday, of course. Wilkinson, touchdown! Right now, number 19 is the man of the hour at the C&E Stadium.
Tom Wilkinson looking for a receiver, going back to that short side of the field. As they say, an old cliche, he smells that goal line and he dives in there just past Wayne Giardino.
Well, Henson will attempt the extra point. It is blocked by Gene Gaines. That is the second convert attempt. The Rough Riders have blocked. So the score remains 22-14 for Toronto, with 40 seconds to play in this opening game of the Eastern Conference Final, an 8-point differential. The Argonauts will look back after the game and realize they could have had 2 extra points on converts, and 1 had Johansson gone for a single point on that short kickoff from the 35-yard line.
Head coach Leo Cahill said last Sunday after beating Hamilton right after the game, he said, well, we'll have no trouble at all in taking Ottawa in the first game of that total point series. I didn't know whether he's just trying to buoy up his players or what, but he appeared to be quite prophetic.
Billy Cooper at the 27-yard line. Well, the important thing for the Argos and their fans is they seem headed for at least a victory in one game against the Ottawa Rough Riders, the points notwithstanding. And that's something they've been trying to do for a long, long time.
In fact, they haven't done it since this game last year, huh?
That's right. First game of the final last year. By 2 points they won. Giardino across the 30, the 35, at the 38-yard line, and close to a first down. 16 seconds now, the clock stops. The ball is on the 38-yard line. Jim Mankins to the 43 for a gain of 5, and the clock has 6 seconds on it. Malasek and Wadsworth, the tacklers on Mankins. Clock now moving, barring penalty. This will be the final play of the first game of the Eastern Final. Jackson looking deep. Incomplete. Adkins, the receiver, covered by 2 Argos. Arends, the principal defender, and it is all over. The Toronto Argonauts have upset the Ottawa Rough Riders by an 8-point margin in the first game of the Eastern Conference Final Series. The final score is Toronto 22 and Ottawa 14. Back with our summary and statistics in just a moment.
Enjoy yourself, move with the 50 crew. Enjoy yourself, take 50 air with you. It makes no difference where you are or how you make your fun. So long as there's a 50 ball, that's for everyone.
Only a 50 tastes as good as a 50, and you'll find 50 drinkers almost anywhere you care to look. They're Canada's enjoyment people, and most of all, they enjoy Labatt's 50.
Enjoy yourself, the 50 lamp is bright. Enjoy yourself, big 50's on tonight. Come join the crew, the growing 50 crowd. A better fun we get is only quite yourself tonight. Yourself, enjoy yourself. Take 5 for 50 air. 50.
This first game was cut cleanly into halves as well. The Rough Riders in the opening 30 minutes looked strong enough to chase the Argonauts into Lake Ontario behind those south stands. They only got 11 points, and the Argos did score a touchdown to come within 2 at halftime, 11-9. And in the second half, Toronto took over entirely. With the Rough Riders having the ball and the wind, Toronto made the only scoring play of the third quarter to go ahead 15-11. That was the second touchdown pass caught by Bobby Taylor in the game. Johansson got a single point on a missed field goal early in the fourth quarter, and it was 16-11 for the Argonauts at that point. Don Sutherland, on a 30-yard field goal into the wind, narrowed the score to 16-14 with 9 minutes to play. And then in the final minute of this first game, Tom Wilkinson from the 7-yard line crashed in around the right side. His receivers covered. He decided to take off and moved in for the decisive score in this game, the score that gave the Argonauts a lead of 8 points going back to Lansdowne Park next Saturday. Not they could have had more, as we said. Certainly 2 converts that were blocked by the aggressive Ottawa defense. The score might have been 24-14, or a difference of 10 points. But we reiterate, for these very happy fans here at the C&E, it's a case of satisfaction seeing their team beat the mighty Rough Riders at least once this year. The first downs, Ottawa piling up many in the first half at an edge at 20-15. The rushing yardage, 210 Rough Riders, 150 Argonauts. The big edge in passing, Toronto, 193 is against 89 yards. Those penalties totaled quite a bit in the first half especially. The total yardage there, 265 and 324 at the bottom of your screen. Now in passes, Jackson 6 for 18, 33% completions. That is substandard for number 12. The Argonaut yardage up there is not correct on the pass attempts. The interceptions, 2 for each team. The penalties, there's the final penalty yardage, 112 yards is against 88. And that's a lot of penalties for one football game, 200 yards between the two of them. That should be 10 for 20 then for Tom Wilkinson, an average of 50% completion on the day. And Bobby Taylor, his favorite target by a good measure here. As he went to Taylor for the 2 touchdowns and yardage in excess of 140 on pass receptions for number 24. So as you can see, the fans very happily make their way out of the C&E Stadium. They try to keep them off the field, but this field will not be used again in 1969. It all goes back to Ottawa now, and then to Montreal, the Autostad, when the winner of this series plays the winner of the Calgary-Saskatchewan Western Final. Let's go now to Tom McKee with Bernie Filoni.
Okay, thank you very much, Don. And just as much as Ottawa had that whole situation all their own way in the first 30 minutes of the football game, the Toronto Argonauts, obviously something must have happened at halftime in the dressing room. They came out and they pretty well had things all their own way in the second 30 minutes of the game. Bernie Filoni, did you see it that way, or how did you analyze the situation?
What I saw in the second half was the Toronto Argonaut defense that came out and really put a good rush on Jackson. And they stuck him pretty good. They hit him hard whenever they got a chance to hit him. Whenever he took off with the football, 4 or 5 big boys around him were hitting extra hard, it seemed. And as I said last night, we were talking, okay, who the quarterback is, once he gets hit pretty good and gets rattled just a little bit, his timing is off, and Jackson's was certainly off in that second half as far as throwing the ball was concerned.
But, you know, one of the greatest attributes that Jackson has is his ability to come back. He can be rattled maybe for half a dozen plays, and then he always comes back. But he just couldn't get back in that third quarter at all.
Well, he couldn't come back because of runs like this by Simons, number 33. Extra effort. You could see the Argonauts really coming on strong, and when you have effort, such as that run with Simons to get down there and set up this Taylor touchdown, then it's tough to really come back. The Argonauts were up that second half, and they did an excellent job, and there's Taylor's second touchdown of the day.
He played a whale of a ball game, didn't he?
He sure did. And this is what happens. See, the quarterback, even as great as he is, comes back and tries to go for that big bomb. He's got a good rush on him, and he overthrows. Learn intercepts this ball, and everybody is aware on the Argonaut team that Learn has the football, because just watch this blocking as he returns this ball, almost for a touchdown, except for Ronnie Stewart. Wilkinson played an excellent second half also. Here he is, has to come back against the grain here on this, because he's being rushed to the wide side of the field on a slant, and throws the ball deep down the center. It's intercepted by Bill Van Berkeley. But coming right back after that, Wilkinson rolls out to the right, smells that goal line, and beats Wayne Giardino, number 21, in the end zone to wind up on that final score.
It looked like a half gainer going over that goal line.
He just dove from the 1 yard line in. He wasn't going to let anybody else stop him.
And so we're at halftime here in this situation. How do you feel the second half will go up in Ottawa next Saturday?
Well, that Ottawa Football Club is a great club. They have good football people. They've proven it all year long that they can come out and win. I don't think that there's enough of a lead yet, but if you play the game one at a time, Toronto has to go up and win another ball game, even if it's by 1 point. But it's going to be a goodie up there.
Yeah, it should be. Anxious to hear what Don Chevrier, play-by-play commentator, has to say about that second half, so to speak. Don, what do you think?
Well, as I mentioned while we had the stats assembled, and you're getting the highlights ready, Tom, was that it was really the series is two halves, and it was a football game cut completely in half in terms of dominance and ball control. All Rough Riders in the first half. And I think it was that long march with the interference call, Tomlin getting the interference call with Ardern the culprit, and then the touchdown that made it close at halftime that seemed to awaken the Argonauts, who were certainly slumbering for the first 20, 25 minutes of the game. And then once they got aroused, they just kept on going and carried the play to the Rough Riders all the way.
I thought Jim Thorpe, when he obviously zigged when he should have zagged on one pass from Wilkinson, and he also dropped another pass that was right in his arms. I thought that might snuff out the fire there, too.
Yes, it might have. The fire is glowing here in Toronto now. It may be doused rather quickly in Ottawa next week. We'll find out in about 6 days' time. The Rough Riders awfully tough at home.
Right, thank you, Don. Now, just before we leave you, and on behalf of Don and Bernie and the production people who have been working on our Eastern football crew, I'd like to say thanks to all the technical crew working our games in the 4 eastern cities of Hamilton, Toronto, Montreal, and Ottawa for their kind cooperation and hard work during this 1969 season. We'll be back, of course, with the Montreal crew in Montreal at the Autostad for the Grey Cup game on November the 30th. And now, on behalf of the sponsors and the CBC television network, this is Tom McKee bidding you a very pleasant good afternoon.
This portion of Canadian professional football brought to you by Labatt's Brewers of 50 Ale, Canada's fastest growing ale, and Labatt's Blue, the true blue lager beer. The best in Canadian football from the best in Canadian beer.
This is the CBC television network.